Extinctions are an integral part of Earth's history, driving the evolution of new species across the planet. As one group fades away, new life emerges to fill the gaps, starting the cycle anew. This process is often slow, subtle, with environmental changes gradually causing certain species to disappear. But sometimes, the changes are more dramatic. Throughout history, Earth has witnessed 5 mass extinctions, often caused by massive shifts in continents or catastrophic events like the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs. Yet not all extinctions are driven by nature's hand. Many species were pushed to extinction by humans, either through ignorance, fear, or even curiosity. These creatures were often isolated in remote island worlds, untouched by time until we stumbled upon them. During the Age of Exploration, humanity's urge to conquer new frontiers inadvertently sealed the fate of many unique and unknown creatures. At times, it's our own ambition for progress that marks the end of the most extraordinary species. Imagine a world where the sky is darkened by millions of pigeons, where you can encounter 10-foot-tall flightless birds in the forests of Madagascar, or swim alongside enormous kelp-eating manatees in the Arctic. Some of these animals were so recent that we've glimpsed their presence even in the 21st century, where echoes of their existence still linger. This list highlights the most remarkable and unforgettable species to have gone extinct in modern times, ranked by their significance, because as you'll see, even the largest populations can vanish in the blink of an eye. Freshwater dolphins are elusive creatures that have only recently captured the public's attention. These dolphins are rarely seen by people and are found primarily in places like the Amazon, the Ganges, and the Indus rivers. Unfortunately, they are becoming increasingly rare due to pollution and overfishing. However, there was once another member of this family, the baiji, the river dolphin of the Yangtze River. The Yangtze, China's largest river system, is home to immense biodiversity. The baiji was revered in local folklore as the goddess of the Yangtze, but not even divine status could protect them from extinction. The Yangtze River is one of China's most densely populated regions, and its rapid development has taken a heavy toll on the ecosystem. The construction of major infrastructure projects like the Three Gorges Dam, completed between 1994 and 2008, has drastically altered the river. Now the world's largest hydroelectric facility and power station, the dam has brought about irreversible changes, including pollution levels that threaten local wildlife. The baiji was never abundant. In the 1950s, its population peaked at around 6,000 individuals, but numbers began to decline sharply in the following decades. By the late 1990s, only 13 baiji remained. In 2007, an expedition set out to find the last of the species, but by then, it was too late. The last recorded sighting of a baiji was in 2007, but it remains uncertain whether the creature spotted was truly a baiji or another species. Ultimately, the goddess of the Yangtze disappeared from the world, her place in zoological history forever lost. One of the fastest extinctions of any large animal belongs to the Steller's sea cow. Discovered in the Bering Sea in 1741 by explorer Georg Wilhelm Steller, this massive creature was gone just 27 years later. The sea cow likely wasn't very common to begin with, as it existed in a small strip of sea. It was the largest of the sea cow group, which includes manatees and dugongs, growing over twice the size of its relatives, reaching lengths of up to 9 meters and weights of 10 tons. Despite its size, it resembled other sea cows, feeding on kelp and cold water plants. Its rough, ridged hide was sometimes compared to tree bark, and it had a small, narrow head with large tusks, useful both for gathering food and fending off rivals. Big, slow-moving, and largely unafraid of humans, the Steller's sea cow was an easy target for hunters. It was a surface swimmer, often seen loitering around the tops of kelp beds and other marine algae. In fact, hunting sea cows wasn't much more difficult than swimming with modern manatees, and they were targeted for their oil, meat, and skin. Before Europeans arrived, the sea cow's polar home was already a challenging place to thrive. While it was likely more widespread during its prime, fossils of the Steller's sea cow have been found as far as Japan and California, both regions rich in kelp beds. Coastal Aboriginal people had been hunting them long before Steller's discovery. By the time Europeans arrived, the Steller's sea cow may have already been endangered. Its slow-moving, surface-dwelling nature and probable slow breeding rate made it especially vulnerable. Tragically, the gentle giant didn't stand a chance. The dodo, perhaps the most iconic symbol of extinction, was a large flightless pigeon from the island of Mauritius. Extinct by 1662, it became a cultural fixture, partly thanks to its inclusion in Lewis Carroll's works. The dodo once shared its island with giant tortoises and other tropical birds, both flighted and flightless, including parrots, ducks, and night herons. The dodo used its strong beak to crack open the fruits of pandanus and tambalak trees, which still produce large nuts today. Its story has been told countless times, often portraying it as a slow, naive bird living in isolation until humans arrived and wiped it out. But this well-known narrative leaves out crucial details. The dodo was known not only to Dutch colonists, but also to the powerful Mughal Empire, which had its own trade network. One of the best depictions of the dodo comes from a 17th century Indian mural by Ustad Mansoor, showing the bird standing tall in a parkland surrounded by more common species. Another famous image, Edward's Dodo by Roland Savory, depicts the bird as plump and slow-moving. While these images contributed to the popular image of the dodo as a fat, foolish creature, the reality may have been quite different. The Indian mural likely portrays the dodo in a more natural state, leaner and more agile, not the overfed captive animal we often imagine. The dodo's extinction was likely caused by several factors. Island birds like the dodo evolved without intelligent predators, and flightless species often fill the role of mammalian herbivores. While early human visitors to Mauritius, such as Arab traders, did not settle on the island, it was the Dutch East India Company that hunted the dodo to extinction. The bird's lack of fear made it an easy target, and it wasn't just the dodo that suffered. Other endemic species and much of the island's forests were also wiped out. The introduction of livestock, monkeys, and other invasive species further competed with native wildlife, contributing to the dodo's tragic disappearance. The Barbery lion, once considered one of the most powerful and imposing lion subspecies, was a victim of human excess, particularly at the hands of the Romans. These magnificent creatures were forced into brutal gladiatorial combat in the Colosseum, where they faced gladiators in some of the most violent spectacles in history. They were also kept by royalty, including Arabic monarchs, and both the London Zoo and the Tower of London housed Barbery lions at various points in time. Unfortunately, this exploitation pushed the lions into ever smaller territories, compounding the challenges they faced in their harsh natural environment. Unlike today's lions in sub-Saharan Africa, the Barbery lion lived further north in the cold, rugged terrain of the Atlas Mountains. The colder temperatures here contributed to their larger manes, which could even reach down to their bellies. They also lived in smaller family groups, often as mated pairs or small nuclear families, a strategy suited to their seasonal habitat where fewer animals meant less competition for food. Their diet primarily consisted of prey like the Barbery stag, gazelles, and wild boars. These lions also coexisted with an extinct subspecies of North African brown bears, which were also featured in gladiatorial events, as seen in numerous Roman mosaics. The Barbery lion's extinction remains a topic of debate. While many sources mark its extinction in 1942, when the last wild lion was reportedly shot in Morocco, questions still linger. Today, some lions in colder regions develop large manes, but this doesn't necessarily indicate they are direct descendants of the Barbery lion. There's also a growing interest in bringing the species back, with DNA testing revealing potential Barbery/sub-Saharan lion crossbreeds in some zoos. Morocco's Rabat Zoo, for example, claims to have 35 purebred North African lions, though their authenticity remains a matter of debate. Only proper genetic testing can confirm if these lions are truly pure Barbery lions, but most have likely mixed bloodlines, making the possibility of resurrecting the Barbery lion from extinction more complex than it seems. The Orox, a magnificent creature that the ancient Romans knew well, holds the distinction of being the ancestor of all modern cattle. The Indian subspecies gave rise to the humped zebu and oxen of South Asia, while the European Orox became the taurine cattle of Europe. How this powerful animal was domesticated and transformed into the docile farm animal we know today remains a mystery. The European Orox was a bold and fearsome forest dweller, with impressive horns and a muscular build. It was one of the largest herbivores of its time, alongside the moose and the wisent, European bison. Orox bulls were jet black, standing as tall as a man at the shoulder and weighed nearly a ton. The Orox was a symbol of power and virility in classical mythology. From Cretan murals to ancient cave art in France, the animal was celebrated for its strength and grace. Even Julius Caesar in his diaries described the Orox as a swift and aggressive creature when approached. In the wild, it faced predators like wolves and bears, although the calves were the most vulnerable. The Orox also made its way into the arena, where it was pitted against gladiators and other wild animals. Hunting for sport became a favorite pastime for nobles and kings in the Middle Ages, further contributing to the species' decline. By the 13th century, the Orox was growing increasingly rare, and the last known wild Orox died in 1627. The animal, a female, passed away of natural causes in Poland's Jaktaro forest. Though extinct, the Orox has sparked interest in resurrection efforts. One such initiative began in the 1920s in Germany with the creation of the Heck breed, which was an attempt to bring back Orox-like traits. These cattle, though possessing large horns, are stockier than the lean Orox. Later efforts led to the development of the Taurus breed, which is closer in size and build to the wild Orox. Whether the Orox will ever truly return to the European woodlands remains uncertain, but for now, the Taurus bull carries on, bearing a proud legacy that harks back centuries to its mighty ancestors. The Burchell's zebra still roams the earth today, but its southernmost subspecies, the quagga, has long been extinct. The quagga's name, pronounced quahaha, comes from the Khoikhoi people of South Africa, who named it after the sound of its call. In textbooks, the quagga is often depicted as a mix between a zebra and a horse, with its hindquarters much more horse-like than that of a typical zebra. Its stripes, instead of covering its entire body, receded into a rusty brown color as they neared its back. The quagga lived in arid regions south of the Orange River, grazing in small herds. It coexisted with regular Burchell's zebras, but there is no evidence to suggest that they interbred. The quagga was heavily exploited by both native South Africans and European settlers, particularly the Dutch, who hunted it for its meat and skin. The last wild quagga was killed in 1878, marking the beginning of its rapid extinction. The final known individual, a mare, died in captivity at Amsterdam's Natura Artis Magistra Zoo on August 12, 1883, of unknown causes. In the early 19th century, George Douglas, 16th Earl of Morton and President of the Royal Society, attempted to conserve the species. He successfully crossed a quagga stallion with an Arabian mare, resulting in a foal with stripes on its legs. This hybrid was later crossed with a black stallion, producing another foal with zebra-like stripes. However, these efforts did not create a breeding population, and the quagga remained rare, further endangered by hunting and livestock grazing. The quagga was the first extinct animal to have its DNA sequenced in 1984, which revealed its relationship to zebras. Further studies confirm that it was a subspecies rather than a distinct species. There are ongoing efforts to breed back the quagga, similar to attempts with the Orox and Barbery Lion. In 1987, the Quagga Project was launched in South Africa, which used selective breeding to create plain zebras that resembled the extinct quagga. Although these animals look similar, they are genetically distinct. By 2004, 83 quagga-like zebras had been bred, and they continue to produce offspring that resemble the extinct species more closely. Finally, coming in at number 1 is a species that our ancestors would have certainly never guessed would go extinct. Once the most common bird in North America, the passenger pigeon's flocks were a marvel of nature, sometimes numbering in the billions and darkening the skies during their migratory routes. These vast flocks could stretch over 300 miles in length and fly at altitudes of more than 1,300 feet. Renowned ornithologist and painter John James Audubon himself documented these birds and their behaviors. At the peak of their abundance, passenger pigeons made up 25 to 40% of all land birds in North America, making their sudden extinction all the more tragic. The passenger pigeon was a skilled flyer with long, pointed wings and lengthy tail feathers. Males were strikingly beautiful, with bright peach-colored breasts, black-tipped wings, and gray body feathers, while females and juveniles were much drabber in appearance. Though adept in the air, they were clumsy on the ground, moving with jerky head motions. These birds primarily inhabited the eastern and southeastern deciduous forests of North America, wintering in places like Texas, Florida, Arkansas, and Tennessee, while breeding occurred in parts of southern Canada, including Ontario. The term passenger comes from the French word passager, meaning passing by, reflecting the bird's nomadic nature. While Native Americans had hunted and trapped passenger pigeons for food, it was the European settlers who caused the most significant population decline. They used a variety of methods, from shotguns to pointed sticks and large nets, to capture and kill the birds. Passenger pigeons were a cheap source of meat and thus became an important food source for the poor. In addition, farmers considered them agricultural pests, as the omnivorous pigeons fed on both plants and insects, often threatening crops. Despite the massive numbers, the passenger pigeon population began to rapidly decline due to overhunting. States eventually passed laws attempting to curb the slaughter, but these efforts were in vain. By the 1870s, the pigeons were becoming increasingly rare, with large hunting expeditions still taking tens of thousands of birds at a time. The once abundant flocks dwindled, and by the early 20th century, the passenger pigeon was extinct, a victim of unsustainable hunting practices and human expansion. I hope you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching, and until next time on PaleoPath.